What's up, everyone? Ian and my fellow FRCMS Molly here. What we're going to take you through today is going to be kind of the first step that we're going to be addressing with our knee rotation, specifically tibia internal rotation. I have this marker here. It doesn't need to be an exact palpation or anything. Just try to think that this part of your shin bone is actually going to be rotating. So we want to just think something in the center of the knee is actually going to be rotating side to side. What we'll do is we'll go ahead and take this away, even though that's our setup for when you don't really have anyone or just another option. We're going to go ahead and have you just go in and out. So just do a capsule car in and out with the knee. You can let them up. Good. So we're just looking for her to go ahead and move that in and out, just so that you get an idea. Do 3 of them. So as she's doing this, just take note of how this is actually moving. We also have the foot coming along for the ride, but it's not what's really initiating the movement. In this particular position, we're probably going to get more of the inner hamstring that's going to rotate the knee that way, and the outer hamstring that's going to rotate the knee towards me, almost as if they were playing the strings. Now, we don't want the hip to also move, so we don't want any of this to happen. We want it to really stay there, so just keep those things in mind. Now, the first thing that we're going to do is really get some low-level isometrics going here, and they're going to be basically PAILs from the FRC system. So what we can do is take this here, and it basically locks the foot in. And what we're going to do is start off with a really low-level 30% contraction. So she's going to go ahead and put her hands around her hip, just so that she can really feel whether that moves or not. And what she's going to actually do is lock the hip in, and just think that she's going to go ahead and try to turn her knee out into this. Now that we've locked the foot, we should be able to get some good tension where we're just pushing into it. We obviously want to progressively overload these tissues, and we want it to be a gradual buildup. So that's why I suggest maybe your first 5 times even, just doing some lighter PAILs and working on controlling the rotation before you really go all in for PAILs and rails. As always anyway, especially if you're in any rehab, you should be consulting with your physical therapist and really even getting assessed before you do any of this stuff anyway. Now, what we want to do is progress that to the next level, so we can just basically go even just a little bit more tension, so she can just push a little bit harder into there. As you create more tension, make sure that it's the right stuff that's actually moving, and we don't want to be really pushing through the hip here. Now, when we go into our rails contraction, it gets a little bit trickier. What we want her to try to do is almost keep her foot down, as if their whole entire knee is going to slide and rotate inward away from it. And it really should not move at all. If anything, you're going to get a very small degree of rotation, maybe 5 to 10 degrees, which would literally just be that. So don't look for it to be a ton. If you did get any more, we could just move this over even more and then just have her reestablish her passive stretch. So quick little review, taking a nice big deep breath in, exhale everything out. Sniff some air in your abs, start to get some nice tension, and she's going to feel this outer hamstring. She can even take her hands, put them right here, and do the skin slash. So she's going to go ahead and take her knee and think about even taking the top layers of the skin into internal rotation. Now she's going to start firing as if she's really pushing into here. Try to think that the reason you're pushing into here is because you're actually using the stuff deep in your knee and your outer hamstring to rotate the knee towards me, or that red mark. So you don't need to see it now because she has it slacked. You can keep your hands there. So she's really keeping the knee turned in there, just those top layers. And then this is actually blocking the deeper stuff. From there, we did 10, 20 seconds. Now she's going to try to pull away. So she's going to really try to screw her knee in further as if it was rotating or spiraling in this direction. And if we do get some good range of motion, she might be able to slide her foot just slightly away from it and get the movement to come from here again. So that's how we would do our PAILs and rails. After you do a round or 2, you might want to sit into it. And we're really just building up tolerance and expanding active range of motion within that position of tibial IR and ER. So we'll go ahead and show you the next one, and then you can combine the 2 of them in terms of starting off with really low-level isometrics just to build the tension up, and then if you do deem that you need to expand range of motion, the PAILs and rails would be a great follow-up to make sure you do that. Another alternative that we have to using any sort of plate or any sort of other block in terms of a tool is to kind of use more of a BJJ or Jiu-Jitsu hold. Now, one of the things that this is going to need to be considered when you're actually choosing is the idea of really where your hip's able to get to and almost how comfortable you feel with actually being the person that's going to really administer the force. because when we actually pull the knee a little bit closer, so the setup we'll just show you so that you can even see it while we're going through it. You're gonna underhook like this, and then you can take your other hand, hook in, and we're gonna grab the end of here, and then you can even grab your bicep with this. Good. So the idea is, just like I was getting to, is basically I'm putting you in more hip flexion. So this hip needs to be able to tolerate this position a little bit easier than if we were actually using this and this angle is not as open. So if you did feel any pinching in the hip, that would definitely be a clear reason that we'd want you to try the other one, or just have someone, a manual therapist, have to do it on you. The other thing that we can kind of consider is this actually gives us a little bit more feedback in terms of this person being able to feel what their knee and what their hip are doing. You can get to a point where you're so good at this that you actually fully lock in your hip. You really are even able to get the feedback to the ankle to know that this is really where we're getting to specifically. So there is an option, I think, in the long run of it actually being a little bit better. The other thing that you could consider is you could actually use this hand as a feedback mechanism and then even block this out anyway with a wall or something, or a kettlebell. So those are all options. As always, the PAILs is going to be external rotation, trying to rotate into the hand, and then the rails would be to try to pull away. Really the same thing as the other setup that we just showed you. And just think that when we do our rails, since we no longer have this here and instead it's your hand, you would need to lift up your hand or at least let go to really emphasize the idea of active rotation. Lastly, the other thing that we would consider is the idea that the foot is not really flexed or plantar flexed at all. It's actually going to be more of a dorsiflexion type lock. At the same time, as long as you're really focusing on what's going on at the knee, that's going to go okay. But just be mindful of how much movement could be coming from the ankle. So just keep that in mind. The best thing is if you tension something first, or if you load something first, that's what's going to get the most load, and that's going to actually really give you the best chance of really getting in there. So try to think before you start pushing through your foot, you've already initiated what's above the knee and the hamstrings behind the knee to really turn and use that rotational force. So it's really just a matter of choosing which setup is best for you. So that's how we're going to really get after tibia internal rotation. Remember to slowly build up, starting off with the low-level isometrics, work your capsule cars, work your full knee cars, and then once you feel comfortable, you can make your PAILs contraction a little bit stronger so that that tissue is able to produce force and absorb force a little bit more effectively with a higher kind of volume. And then from there, if you do deem that we need to expand some range of motion, it is limited, what we can do is start adding that rails contraction so that we can actually actively pull ourselves into more range of motion. And that'll be a great way to really restore that internal rotation at the knee. If you have any questions, let us know, and please feel free to reach out and give us any feedback at all. Have a great day.